Dr. Dean Edell. You all know him well from his radio work. He's on Sunday afternoons here on WHO Radio. But I'm really intrigued by your new book, Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. It's now out in paperback. It was a bestseller, I know, as a hardcover. And in it, I was fascinated to see that you think Americans are kind of obsessed about health. They're kind of neurotic about it, aren't they?
Yeah, we've gone a little bit too far, I think. You know, we've the health nags have driven us crazy. We hear so much negative news about everything. We're all walking around afraid of the food we eat. We're afraid of the air we breathe. We're afraid of the water we drink. We're afraid of our cell phones. We're afraid of everything. Mm-hmm. And this isn't a fun way to live. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at the scientific information, you know I'm a stickler for that,
right.
You find things aren't so bad after all. We have a lot of reason to rejoice and be merry and enjoy our lives instead of going nuts and worrying about the next meal, the next treadmill.
So the point of the book is really to stop living your life out of fear and just kind of relax, have fun.
Exactly, because it turns out, I mean, I don't know if this is good news or bad news for most people, but for an individual, it is not likely that you as an individual, unless you're a smoker or you do a lot of drinking and driving, that you can greatly modify your lifespan. There are some things you can do. Some things are worth it, but most of what you hear is just making you neurotic and crazy.
Mm-hmm. You call it a hypochondriacal culture.
Yeah.
What happened? What caused us to become this way?
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, our parents and past generations just did not run to the doctor for every little cut and bump and pimple the way that we do. I think first and foremost, and it's hard to put one finger blame, but I got to say that in television, and most people get their health information from television still. The Internet is changing all that, and that's going to be terrific. But when we do things in television, we make them very, very personal, and we always we exaggerate in the following way. We will show you a person to whom something has happened, and our brains automatically, when we recall that information, will bring up personal information first before objective information. And the simplest example is if you're going to buy a car, and Consumer Reports has interviewed hundreds of mechanics and thousands of people who own the car, and they say, this is a good car, and you go to work and there's a coworker there who says, my mother-in-law drove that car, it was a lemon. Mm-hmm. That looms larger in your brain. So when I show you a picture of a woman, and she says her child may have had a terrible side effect from a vaccine, or her child ate something and made her sick, then bingo, that's all you can think about. And so we begin to get very frightened. We get frightened, and then we start running to doctors all the time. We build up our concern, and of course, you look at the advertisements, and the health industry, from everything from exercise to vitamin supplements. You really think you're ready to drop dead if you're not on a treadmill every day and gobbling vitamin pills.
So you're saying when we watch a show like Dateline NBC or 2020 or something, and they have a report on cell phones, how it potentially could cause cancer or some tumor in your head or something like that, and all of a sudden we start to get worried then.
Absolutely.
That we're going to get that. That's what you're saying.
Listen, those shows, somehow the network talk shows have done more damage to our mental health via this mechanism. I mean, it was an NBC show that entirely single-handedly launched the entire breast implant fiasco, where it told women they're going to be sick if they have breast implants. It's now taken us 10 years to undo that thing, and we've turned out that breast implants do not cause any diseases. But one show has so much power to create this fear in us that we really have to think about, whether this is doing us any good or not.
But wouldn't they respond to you by saying they're just trying to provide a public service? They're giving information.
That's right. You're absolutely right. It's hard to nail them, even though you can show them in their reporting how it is sloppy, poorly researched, how it is, they hype it up, they spend 90% of the piece on creating fear, and then they'll, give a little, two-sentence, makeshift answer concerning what is mostly likely to be the truth. They'll say, well, it can't be harmful, just to let people know they should be careful. I mean, cell phones is a very good example. Right now, we're all hysterical about cell phones. There's no evidence cell phones harm anybody. There's no evidence genetically modified foods harm any human being on the face of the earth. And yet, look at the hysteria. And considering that these things, no one's ever been harmed by them as far as we can tell. And yet we are all just running off in a direction like, chickens with their heads cut off. It's absolutely crazy.
So who do we trust, and why do we trust you?
Well, here's the deal. Well, you don't have to trust me, but you trust science. And that is really important because That's all we have to go on. All we have in our lives today, from all the good food that we get to eat and quality of lives that Americans have, we owe to, objective thinking, not hysteria. We owe to the hard work of a lot of people who went before us. And so you always want to check these things and always think, who's telling me what and why are they telling me? And you'll get to the bottom of it.
And Dr. Edell, before we get to calls, I do want to talk about your background for just a little bit, because from listening to your show, I've heard you allude to yourself as a former hippie, an old-time hippie, and I didn't realize all the things that you had done. I mean, you essentially almost quit medical school. You abandoned your practice back in the 70s, lived on a bus, and even opened up your little shop, an antique gallery, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, wait, you checked up on me, huh?
Well, it's fascinating because I thought you just were kind of mainline all these years and very non-traditional in how you came to be successful.
Yes. Well, it's a sordid tale, and everything you said was kind of true. We still have that bus, except now we're hauling around, 15 kids and grandchildren. Yes. Well, I come to it from that place. And a very special place in my heart, which helps me understand the alternative medicine movements and all the new things that are going on in America, which are really just the extension of, it's the aging of the baby boomers, essentially, is why, we have so much of the, quote, the new age in our lives today. And it was a great experience. It gave me a lot of perspective and led me here. I guess also I was probably a hyperactive kid and I made a lot of impulsive decisions. But as you know, I believe we are peddling too many drugs to these kids, and that hyperactive decisions sometimes are impulsive decisions are fun in life and they get you where you need to go. So yes, I've done all those things, and I still got a few miles left in the old chassis.
Well, it sounds to me like you are sort of establishment now, and yet at the same time, in your heart, I still hear a little bit of that hippie coming out.
Yes, it's there. It's there. Those were very, very interesting times, and we're still trying to deal with what it all meant. And some of the stuff from that period of time, I'm proud of. Some of the stuff, it wasn't such a good idea, but. It always takes a confluence of the politics and the history of a time to create social movements, and I think for the most part it's been a good thing. Some things have gotten extreme. I am not thrilled as we've gotten to the point now where people run to a store and grab a fistful of herbs and start pounding herbs down their gullet, without telling their doctor, and all this alternative medicine stuff. I mean, we used to sit around and try to guess whether we should spell. It was called holistic then,
right?
Whether it was with a W or an H. That was the big argument back then. So I saw the beginnings of it all, and it's still with us today.
Dr. Dean Edell is the author of Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, available now in paperback. And let's get to the phone lines with some of our listeners. Becky is up first on WHO Radio. Hi, Becky.
Hi.
What's your question for Dr. Edell?
I've been having these problems with like blisters on my hands, on the palms of my hands. It started out on my big toe, and I got some blisters, and they're real deep, but they really itch bad. And I had a patch test and stuff on my back, and they said that I was allergic to, it's some big long word, and then it's formaldehyde resin. And they've been treating me with, I think, Donovex. It's a cream to put on them, and then alternating that with Ultravate, and I still keep getting the blisters. They said it's mainly found, the formaldehyde resin is mainly found in fingernail polish, and I hardly ever wear fingernail polish.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's an allergy. There's a very, very common condition. It goes by a variety of names, but it's extremely common. You get little bumpy blisters that aren't like big, clear water blisters like you used to see when you worked too hard in the garden. And lots of those little kind of bumpy blisters can be on the palms and even the fingers.
Actually, these are big blisters.
And they're big blisters.
They're big blisters, and they're deep. It's not like, like a boil where it bubbles up.
Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go, you talking to your dermatologist or general doctor?
I've been to both. I've been to the dermatologist like 3 or 4 times now.
Yes. Go back and ask him and say, do I have a bullous disease? You got to write this down. It's Bullous. Bull, like bull, and then Ous. And then before you go back, go on to the internet. I can plug my own website, or when I'm a part of Health Central, at healthcentral.com and any other good health website. Look up bullous disease to see if they fit. So when you go in, you're armed. Because if this indeed was what they're trying to tell you is that you have this, an allergy to something that you say you're not around. Now, formaldehyde products are pretty common in the environment, but it shouldn't be appearing like that. And one quick way to find out is also go down to the corner store, buy yourself some rubber gloves, and put gloves on one hand, not the other one. All right, and see if it goes away. If it goes away while you're wearing the rubber gloves, unless you're allergic to latex, which a lot of people are, if it doesn't go away, then it's obviously not a contact, dermatitis.
Okay.
It's not coming from something you're touching.
Okay.
There you will have your own detective work, and you will be armed and dangerous, and you're ready to take it to the next step, okay?
Thanks, Becky, for calling. Dr. Edell, how much should a person be doing before they get to the doctor? How much should you be involved in doing your own detective work?
Well, I'd like to say you can't do too much, but, some people go overboard. They walk into the doctor's office. The doctor's got 10 minutes to see them, and they've got themselves 16 pages of notes and questions and stuff like that.
They've diagnosed themselves.
Yeah, right. You've really got to hone it down to the most important questions you need to get answered. So I like the idea of people going on the Internet and finding out all they can. You'd be amazed. I talk to doctors. We doctors are having to change how we act because some folks come in, they know more about something than we do.
Yeah.
And you have, with a click of a button, you have access to the same database that all physicians operate off of. There may be some big words in there, but, you can always go into the dictionary and find out what they mean. So try and do what you can.
But
especially after you get a diagnosis. It's hard to diagnose yourself.
But doesn't that contribute, though, to what you mentioned earlier about people becoming more neurotic about their health?
Well, it can. If you find yourself doing this every night of your life, that's different. But when an acute illness arises or something new arises, a new symptom, or if you've had a symptom and the doctor can't get to the bottom of it, that's where you can pitch in and do detective work. And it's the kind of thing, if I were her doctor, after all, she's been back a few times, it's not getting better, and so, they should have told her to try a few of these things.
Dr. Edell, there's a question I have to ask you. I've always wondered this as I listen to you. Do you sit there with, a computer in front of you, and when somebody asks you a question, you quick type in that topic, or do you literally answer things off the top of your head?
Well, I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. No, I hate computers.
Because I just can't believe how you come up with some answers from your head. It's amazing.
Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind. Well, listen, I do read a lot. That's, what my job really is reading medical journals and looking for stuff. And over the years, I guess I've gotten to the point where I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Though you wouldn't want me to do surgery on you.
Let's head back to the phone lines, and Ray is up next with Dr. Dean Edell. Hi, Ray.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I was wondering if the doctor had any opinion or thoughts on, I read a book, and I don't know, I won't mention the author, but it's called A Cure for All Cancers. And basically what this book says is that the flukes in the liver mutate because of the food processing and the stuff in the food chain. And there's a real simple recipe in there with tincture of black walnut and wormwood and cloves that you take. It's about a week treatment, and then you take them every few months as a maintenance program. And supposedly it gets rid of the parasites that cause the cancer.
Yeah,
and,
well, I know that.
I'm on a cell phone, so I'll just go ahead and take his answer off the air. And you guys got a great show.
Thanks a lot. Go ahead.
Well, I do. I know the book and the author, and basically, I don't find any verifiable objective scientific truth to that. It was like almost made up out of the air. I don't know. I can't find even the beginning of it. Although with every book like that, and believe me, there are hundreds of them, and I see them all because they all get sent to me. All the wild theories and ideas about the causes and cures for cancer. Well, what does it mean? It means there's a lot of frustration out there with this disease, but I gotta say, most people who get cancer survive or cured. It wasn't like that years ago. People, this is a part of America today. We are a fast food culture. We want the quick and the easy answers to everything, and yet we are making incremental progress year by year by year. You're never going to wake up and see a headline, cancer cured. You're going to, wake up and see little headlines. Today we made this progress. Today we beat leukemia way back. Gosh, leukemia, lymphoma, when I was in medical school, was a death sentence. Nowadays, we cure most people. So you got to be a little bit patient with progress. And two, there is truth to the fact that some infectious diseases are capable of causing cancer. We know hepatitis B is associated with liver cancer. We know the Epstein-Barr virus is associated with certain kinds of lymphomas and blood cancers. And, the list goes on and on. But it ain't parasites and flukes as in that book, and that black walnut tincture isn't going to prevent cancer. But it does express something to me in America that here we are today at the height of our technical powers. We have never accomplished more, and yet we are more prone to buy into very, very questionable stuff. It's kind of, we've lost our rudder in a sense.
Well, people are searching for answers. They're they're desperate, is what it gets down to. They're hungering for answers.
Absolutely. And listen, it makes sense to me that if there were such a thing, doctors get cancer too. Right. Their wives and spouses children get cancer. And so, when you raise this up with someone, say, has written a book like this, say, well, they're trying to suppress me because I have the cure and doctors make too much money from curing cancer. Well, it's not only offensive, but it's just plain silly. There aren't enough cancer cases to go around to make the first payment on a car for physicians in a country with cancer.
That's right. Terry is up next with Dr. Dean Edell, the author of Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. Hi, Terry.
Yes, good morning.
What's your question?
I would like to have a little bit of information on diabetes, like the beginning symptoms, or if there's some way that I know going to the doctor is the best thing, but I was just wondering if there's anything that you could base that on.
Okay, the early signs of diabetes.
Yes, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not reading between the lines here, and you're just saying you're suspicious and you don't want to go to the doctor.
No.
So, all right. If you're suspicious, you go. Well, listen, diabetes can be subtle, and I'll tell you some of the early warning signs, and many of you have had them. And this is why we do routinely, we check your blood sugar. Whenever you go to the doctor, whenever your doctor is taking blood, there are usually 12 or 18 tests that they do routinely. Included in there is always a blood sugar. Early signs of diabetes could be anything from fatigue, excessive thirst, and urination. And that's when often people will miss, because the sugar forces the kidney to make you lose more fluid, and then you get thirsty, and you get into this vicious cycle. Cuts and wounds that just don't heal as quickly as they used to, or maybe get infected. And those are some of the early signs, but you can see that's not very reliable. If every person who had that went to the doctor, of course, we'd overwhelm doctors, but we pick up a lot of cases.
Does it also bother eyes?
Well, the eyes would be a sign that diabetes is ongoing, because diabetes can definitely, of course, affect the eyes. It's one of the terrible side effects of diabetes. So you get an overgrowth of blood vessels and things in the back of the eye. And if you're having that, an ophthalmologist can look right in your eyes, right at the back of your eye, and diagnose diabetes just by looking at the back of your eye, by the way. So that's the reason doctors pick up that little light and they look inside your eyes. So if you have a concern, and I am reading that between the lines that you have a concern, especially maybe a resident of family, you need to go get a blood sugar test.
Thanks a lot, Terry, for calling. Dr. Dean Edell is our guest. Hi, Rosemary.
Good morning.
What's your question?
My 10-year-old granddaughter has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she's had it for about 9 years. And her joint symptoms are pretty well controlled with her medication, but she has pretty severe inflammation in her eyes. And right now she has a cataract that has been caused by the medication, which needs to be removed. But because of this inflammation, then they can't do the surgery. I wondered if you had any idea.
Yeah, boy, that's tricky. Well, with juvenile arthritis and arthritis of any kind, these are what we think autoimmune diseases. The eye can actually get involved, and the eye gets inflamed, and the pigmented part of the eye and the iris itself can get inflamed, called iritis. And the cataract is a common complication of that, and it is a straightforward, simple operation to do that will, give her perfect vision, so not to worry. But yes, you don't want to operate while the eye is inflamed, and they're probably giving her tons of cortisone drops and medication, right, to quiet that inflammation and keeping her pupil dilated. You might not think that's important, by the way, but you want to keep that pupil dilated so it doesn't stick to the lens, because they're going to want to take that lens out. That is what a cataract is, any opacity in a lens. So you keep the pupil dilated so it doesn't stick to the lens, keep the inflammation down, and it'll pass. It'll pass, and at that point they can whip that out of there and either plunk in a intraocular lens or give her some contact lenses, and she'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope she's okay, Rosemary. Thanks for calling. Dr. Edell, weren't eyes your specialty?
At one point, long time ago, eye surgery, well, I practiced eye surgery after general surgery and, general medicine and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, it's the thing I know the least about, to tell you the truth. Because
Really?
of my specialty, I have less interest in it than general medicine.
What do you get asked the most about now?
Well, it varies. I think the most common questions that I get asked, and of course not everybody gets on the air, as you know, so there are common questions that come in to the radio show, which are the most common things out there, backaches and things like that. And then after that, I would say people ask questions about all the products and herbs and supplements, vitamins that they're pummeled with advertising about. And they really want to know, is this going to cure this? Is this going to cure that? And it's a minefield.
I've heard people call your show, though, and complain that sometimes the local radio station will throw in an ad for one of those products that you just complained about.
Well, you know radio, so you know how it is.
It just works that way, right?
I know. You have no control over that. And I just assume people, I tell advertisers, I say, listen, here's what I think of your product. If you can't live with that, then you're crazy to advertise in this show, because if someone calls me up and asks about your product, I'm going to tell them the truth.
Right.
We have an ad for, I think, some magnetic thing to help you. So someone called up. I heard this ad, so I told them what I thought about, this magnetic wristband.
That's what I like about you. Just tell it to them straight.
Try.
Let's get back to the phone lines with Dr. Edell. And Daniel, you have a question that relates directly to something that Dr. Edell talks about in the book. What's your question, Daniel?
Yes, hi. Dr. Edell, big fan.
Thank you.
Having lived in France, I can practically assure you that most adult Frenchmen smoke 2 to 3 packs of unfiltered cigarettes a day. And it seems like foods that are not overladen with saturated fats and carbohydrates are practically illegal in that country.
Right.
And yet the reportable rates of fatal cancers seems to be considerably lower than ours. And I'd like for you to comment on the red wine theory that we've heard so much of. And another observation, perhaps, is that I've had the opportunity in my life to work and live with Aboriginal cultures. And there are many of them in the world that don't even have a word in their language for cancer. It is so uncommon. Something about the less technological societies not being under the same sort of stress, etc., as we are in the Western world.
Okay.
I wonder what your thoughts are on that, and I'll get off the phone and just listen.
Thanks, Daniel. All right, what about that French paradox, Dr.
Yeah,
Edell?
well, let's move through. You asked a bunch of very good questions. Well, it is called the French paradox, and there are multiple explanations being offered at this particular point in time. One is that the French tend to underreport heart disease deaths, and so those who don't believe in the French paradox, and there are some doctors, say, well, they just don't tell everybody, that the cause of death is heart disease. They do have higher rates of liver disease from drinking more than we do, but still, when you look at it, and you look at the amount of fat and cholesterol they consume and their rates of heart disease, even making adjustments for what I just said, it is remarkable. The wine is considered one thing. The latest evidence, and a lot of which I have in the book, has to do with the vegetables and the variety of fruits and vegetables and foods that they eat. Americans eat a very narrow range of foods. Mm-hmm. We eat a certain kind of potato, we eat a certain kind of meat, and maybe another kind of a vegetable, if we're lucky. And that's it. We live in 14, 15 different species of vegetables, whereas Frenchmen, they eat all kinds of stuff. So it may be a Mediterranean, not a French phenomenon. In the north of France, they do have higher rates. As far as Aboriginal cultures, every culture on Earth, they do have their cultural cancers. And one of the important things that's happened to us that accounts for this, what appears to be like a cancer epidemic, is the fact that we are living longer and longer and longer. The average Aboriginal culture, in the average Aboriginal culture, they don't live long enough often to get some of these cancers. You don't have that. Those are not places where you have excessively long-lived people. So you get after 50 and 60 and 70 and 80, cancer starts to occur. That's one of the explanations. But no doubt, we cause a lot of cancer ourselves, from cigarette smoking to as yet uncovered things.
Monica is up next with Dr. Dean Edell. Hi, Monica.
Hi there.
What's your question?
Okay, it's really gross.
Gross?
Gross.
You called the right place.
I thought I would. Okay. Ever since I was a young child, I have had pinworms.
And you still have them?
Yes.
Oh, how interesting.
What's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
For those of us, can you delicately describe pinworms?
Well, I think that's what it is. I've never had it diagnosed by a doctor. I've mentioned it to 2 different doctors. One was my family physician, and the second one was my OB when I was pregnant with my first child. And they said, "Oh, it's nothing to worry about," and that was all that was said. They never took a sample. They never did anything else.
Oh, wow. Well, you gotta go back and find out. I usually you see this in kids, of course, and it's real easy to diagnose. And what's more important is you may have something else that's easy to treat that's causing the symptoms. And sometimes, you can get an itchiness, you can get, irritation, all kinds of stuff. So it's unusual, and there's nothing gross to me, but you really need to find out. And I assume that you just kind of stumped your doctors and they just said, come on now, and just figured you were kidding them or something like that.
Okay, I've actually seen them.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of them.
Well, that would be difficult. Oftentimes when people think, and I'm just offering this up as an explanation from my experience, that oftentimes when you see them, you're seeing something else. Although it's possible, but they are very, very, very tiny, and sometimes they diagnose them. They use actually Scotch tape, to remove, to put it against you and just get a sample and look under the under the microscope. And I'd be amazed if you were seeing them. And very often when that happens, people are seeing other stuff.
So it's probably something else.
Yeah, that the intestines can create. So I really would urge you to go see your doctor. Go see a gastroenterologist. They're the best at this. Right directly. Don't even bother going by your gynecologist. Go to a gastroenterologist, and they'll tell you in 2 seconds whether you have this or not, and then you can, forget about it and find something else wrong.
Thanks, Monica. And Dr. Edell, that was gross for me.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's what medicine is,
Sally's up next with Dr. Dean Edell. You hear him Sunday afternoons on WHO. Hi, Sally.
Hi.
What's your question?
My question is, thank you for taking my call, by the way.
Sure.
I would like Doctor to comment, if you will, in regard to the new technology available for pap smears that's known as monolayer or thin layer. And I am also fearlessly on a cell phone, so I will drop off and listen.
Great. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself any brain cancer there, talking on that cell phone. Yes, the pap smear is one of the few remaining tests that is really done by people. We don't have a technology that helps us. Somebody who sits there all day long looking at slides, takes your slide, puts it under the microscope, and starts looking for abnormal cells among the multitude of cells, thousands and thousands of cells, and differences can be subtle sometimes. Sometimes each slide is read and backed up by another person who reads it. Sometimes a person is glazed over and tired. Errors do happen. So we are desperate for a technology that will help folks out. And we have it. We do have methodologies now that seem, and it's amazing to me because, when you're looking with your eyeballs at these cells, you're looking for a darker nucleus, a larger one, a smaller one, a more irregular outline, and I don't understand the technology at all, but we have it, and a lot of doctors are starting in laboratories are starting to integrate it just to be sure to, run a parallel series with the technology and having it done by hand and see which picks up more cancer, et cetera. So whatever your doctor approves of is fine by me because your doctor knows the stakes. Yeah. But I'll tell you something most important about a pap smear is to keep doing them because even in the best of hands, you're looking for a couple of little cells in there, and it's easy to miss them. And that's why you want to keep those appointments and do them every year, every 2 years, whatever the protocol is for your particular age. That way you'll be sure you're not going to miss anything.
The book is called Eat, Drink, and Be Merry. It's now in paperback, and also the audio version is available. And let's head to Jamie.
Yes, I am, and I'm on a cell phone, too. And I was just wondering if Dr. Edell could please discuss green tea and some of the stuff we see in the papers say that it's backed up by science, saying that it's loaded with antioxidants and it's really good for you.
Okay.
Could you please discuss it?
Thanks. So this is part of that alternative medicine idea. The green tea can help you, Dr. Edell?
Sure. Green tea is loaded with antioxidants and other things, and polyphenols, and the list goes on, and I think it is beneficial. But, and here's what's behind every question like that. What the person is saying is, Dr. Edell, here is my lifestyle, here's what I eat, here's how much exercise I get, here's whether I smoke or not. Now I'm going to drink green tea on top of everything, and expect that I'm going to live 10 years longer. That ain't going to happen. I'm sorry. The evidence just doesn't show us that. But over large populations of people, thousands and thousands of people who include green tea in a healthy lifestyle, it does seem to have some benefits, but very difficult to really objectively prove these things. So I always tell people that, health is a lifestyle. It's not a good food or a bad food. Just as there's no such thing as a food that's going to rescue you and save your life, there's no such thing as a food that's going to kill you unless you take it to extremes.
Dr. Edell, the study that I was fascinated by, I think you mentioned on the show, was about chocolate.
Yes.
The positive impact of chocolate, it almost has the same effect of like wine or something.
Absolutely. Chocolate has antioxidants and bioflavonoids and things just like wine. It was on cocoa. And listen, if we discovered it today, it'd probably be a health food.
That's why I'm eating more of it than ever.
There you go.
Barbara is up next. Hi, Barbara. Can you make your question fairly short?
Well, yes. I just was wondering if Doctor could comment further. We heard him Sunday on grapefruit affecting medication, the effects of heart medication for heart patients.
Okay.
Sure.
And primarily what we have been told in reading, the effects of grapefruit juice. Now then, that includes also the grapefruit. We were told the fiber there, you wouldn't get as much grapefruit, but we were just wondering.
Well, that's an easy one. I can do that quickly. I am of the belief, rather than list for you the variety of medications, and it's a long list indeed, to tell you the truth, in many classes of drugs, from antibiotics to antidepressants to high blood pressure pills and cardiac medications, rather than make that list, do not take prescription medication with grapefruit juice, if that's your habit, and that's simple. This particular study found with a drug called felodipine, a blood pressure pill, and it was typical. You got a 4 or 5 times higher level in your blood when you take it with grapefruit juice than taking it with orange juice or water. So medication should be taken with water, unless your pharmacist, who's up in this issue, can advise you if you just have to have that grapefruit juice.
So this is you're just talking about grapefruit juice.
Just grapefruit juice. There's something in there that blocks the liver's ability to enzymatically degrade drugs.
Mimi is up next with Dr. Dean Edell. Hi, Mimi.
Hi.
What's your quick question?
I have a grandson that was born 6 weeks premature, and he'll be 7. I mean, you have to take the 6 weeks off of that 7 years old in October. And when he was born, he really didn't walk or talk he didn't walk until he was 18 months old.
Can you be real quick, Mimi?
Okay, he was 18 months old when he began walking, and his speech is still not very good. I mean, he's beginning to put sentences together, but maybe 3 or 4 words. He will be going to school in September. Do you think he'll ever be able to speak, like we do?
That's a good question.
Sure. Well, it's hard to predict the future, but these kids do start behind. They are behind, and they do come on a little later than other kids. And there's no way to know this until you follow it through. And I think he'll be fine. And we all have different advantages and disadvantages. All the blessings get distributed throughout the universe here. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. And yes, he can do just fine. And we'll just have to see it.
But when it comes to speech, we all have an expectation that everybody should be developed at about the same rate.
Right, and they don't, and that's very important for parents and grandparents. I was a late talker. I didn't start talking until I was 3 or 4, and I haven't.
Come on!
No, it's true, and I haven't shut up since.
You made up for it, Doctor.
Yeah, there you go.
I really enjoy reading your book about the placebo effect, and the more I think about it, the more sense it makes. The idea that even if you take something like an alternative medicine, if it doesn't directly impact your health, it has a placebo effect to it. It makes you think that it's impacting your health. So is that okay?
Yeah, listen, it's the most powerful effect in medicine. I don't care what the disease is, you give people a pill, tell them it'll make them feel better, it will in a certain percentage of people, and that's really critical to understand, because then you won't be fooled every time someone says, well, I tried this, and it just made my headache go away. Well, your headache might have gone away anyway. Very important concept. Probably the most important concept I think a person could learn to help them deal with this crazy world of medicine today. That one concept, if they get that one down, boy, they're not going to be fooled.
Part of it is also, as you say in the book, relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy life. Be happy.
That's very healthy to do that.
Yeah. Finally, Dr. Edell, as we listen to you every week, don't you get tired of answering some of these questions?
Well, you know something? I've never had two the same. They're always different. Every question is a human story, and that's what keeps it fun for me. And the most fun of all, of course, is I learned something. The audience is the best teacher there is, because I don't know everything, and I love it when I don't know, and I get to go look it up and make myself smarter the next time around. And every human is different, and there's always a different twist, you know. And listen to some of the calls we heard here today. I haven't been asked questions like that in a long time.
Wow, really? So that stimulates your mind as well.
Absolutely.